Sri Lanka has been grappling with an economic crisis for months now. Foreign reserves dropped to an all-time low, imports were slashed, and a crisis of fuel and other essential goods forced thousands to take to the streets of Colombo. In the latest, the Sri Lankan cabinet has approved a proposal to downgrade its status from a middle-income country to a low-income country. The cabinet spokesperson said the Sri Lankan GDP is expected to decline further and that the step was being taken to ease financial support from international organizations.
In order for ease of financial support and intervention by international organizations. Therefore, the cabinet paper presented for Sri Lanka to be classified as a low-income country received cabinet approval.
The World Bank classifies a nation as a low-income country when its population, upon its gross national income for a year, falls to $1,085 or below. However, shortly after the cabinet approval, the director of Sri Lankan President's External Affairs Department tweeted a clarification saying the South Asian nation will remain a middle-income country. This because it no longer qualifies for loans from the International Bank for reconstruction and development due to a credit rating downgrade. Sharing the information, the official called for the World Bank to grant Sri Lanka eligibility to obtain International Development Association loans. He added that 12 countries in the past have availed the facility called GAP when they were under similar economic circumstances as Sri Lanka. The developments come on the same day when the United Nations Development Programme issues a warning on the debt situation in the poorest parts of the world. In a new report, the UNDP estimated that 54 countries needed immediate debt relief to avoid even more extreme poverty. The list of countries, which include Sri Lanka and Pakistan, account for more than half of the world's poorest people. For more on this story, we earlier spoke to WION correspondent Dasani Athoda.
Moments after Sri Lanka's cabinet spokesperson confirms that cabinet approval was in fact granted for Sri Lanka to be downgraded from a middle-income country to a low-income country, Sri Lanka's president's media division was quick to take to media to refute this claim and stated that Sri Lanka very much intends to remain as a middle-income country, and the process that is currently looking at is a reverse graduation program. Nevertheless, the public at large firmly believe that Sri Lanka's downgrading from a middle income to a low income country would be inevitable given the current statistics and the fall in GDP per capita here in the island nation over the past few years, which has been exacerbated owing to Sri Lanka's economic crisis. Stay with WION as we track the very latest developments. Reporting from Colombo, I'm Dasani Athoda.
Just days after one of Thailand's worst massacres in its history, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has called for tighter gun control measures. Law agencies have been ordered to implement more regulations to avoid mass killings in the future. Measures like revoking gun licenses of owners who have in any way threatened the society or caused unrest, especially for police officers, those who have misused their firearms or behaved aggressively while on duty. There will be more crackdowns on illegal gun sales, weapon smuggling and the use of illegal firearms. The Thai government is also pushing for regular mental health checkups for applicants. The latest order includes a curtail on drug use. Authorities have been asked to search and test communities for drug abuse. Treatment for addicts will also be made a priority. All these regulations are in line with what unfolded in Thailand recently. Just last week, a former police officer launched a knife and gun attack. He targeted a children's daycare. At least 34 people lost their lives, with 24 of them being children. The perpetrator then headed home and killed his wife, his own child, and then himself. Investigations now show that he was unhappy and resorted to drug abuse. The 34-year-old was fired from duty in June for the possession of an illegal drug. He had a history of occasional outbursts of violence. Similar patterns were seen in the handful of cases in Thailand in the past. It's important to understand that the country has one of the highest gun ownership records in the world. However, cases of gun violence are marginally low. This is because of Thailand's stringent laws on firearms, but often critics have pointed out the inconsistencies in these regulations. Security forces can purchase as many weapons as they want at steep discounts, but for civilians, the rules and prices are different and higher. This disparity leads to an unregulated space where some government officials end up selling weapons to people in the black market. This loophole has come at a huge cost to Thailand. The country of 70 million people has a well-rooted gun culture. Weapons may not mark political identity like they do in the United States, but every trigger in Thailand first needs a safety lock. In this case, it will a revised gun law.